Hello everybody and welcome back to the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations playthrough, walkthrough, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's time for us to continue with the first case, Turnabout Memories. And yes, we've got this little bit of testimony of when Nick pushed Doug Swallow, and I think we're going to have to do quite a little bit of digging to get through this all, because clearly Nick didn't do it. Clearly we can believe in him. So I feel, whilst we're here, we should probably go on with Doug Swallow's name, because always do love that. So obviously there's the potential that his name is a play on Don't Swallow or Drug Swallow. Something that will make more sense later on, I feel. But for now, it is a little bit strange. His Japanese name is Nonda Kikuzu, which comes from the phrase Nondara Kiku, which means if you drink it, it'll work. Which refers to a similar situation. And with his French name, which is Patrick Romeo, if you go surname first, his name becomes Romeo Patrick, which is a play on the French word for homeopathic. So I'm not quite sure fully what that word is, but obviously it's like homeopathic. So it's like homeopathic drugs, which are not actual drugs, it's just all natural stuff, and obviously it's all complete rubbish. So it is presented as being scientific, but it's basically all just like trying to placebo your way out of things, and no, just sod off with your homeopathy. Give me cold, hard science and medical facts and I'll be happy. So there is definitely something important in this testimony, because obviously it was raining, so that's going to make things quite difficult, but also the umbrella. The umbrella is going to be, I believe, the key to proving Nick's innocence in this case. I mean, obviously, it would be great if it wasn't cheap umbrella, well, cheap brolly, but let's look at this crime photo. You see, he fell down on top of his cheap umbrella, but clearly in the photo he didn't. So something is not right here. Something's very, very not right. Because yes, if Nick's testimony is correct, then the body would have been well over by the brolly. And the brolly wouldn't have moved because his body would have been on it. So clearly he moved. So clearly he wasn't dead after Nick pushed him, which absolutely opens up this case. I mean, unless, you know, Doug Swallow became one of the undead, but that is also, I mean, considering we're in a world where there are spirit mediums, zombies aren't exactly pushing the boat out in terms of ludicrousness, but it is, well, perhaps going a little bit too far. We may be able to summon spirits, but there is still, well, there are still laws of physics and reality that the franchise follows. Obviously it takes science to an extreme, but for the most part it still plays quite normal in terms of what it deals with. It's all relatively realistic. And of course we have another witness. And oh! Dahlia Hawthorne's going to come to the stand. Oh. This is going to be incredibly juicy. Very, very, very juicy. And Mia has indeed been waiting for this. 'Cause, you know, this Miss Dahlia Hawthorne looks sweet. But, yeah, I didn't trust her. Not a bit. And yes, at least Nick gave us the truth in the end, because otherwise, bloody hell, that would have been difficult. I mean, really, he could get done for perverting the course of justice or perjury for, you know, lying under oath. But yeah, I'm sure we can wrangle through a few things. He's ill, he's clearly not in the right frame of mind. I mean, to be fair, I completely understand if his mind wasn't in the right place, because when you're ill and you're snotty and coughing and all that jazz, it's never fun at all. But fate. Don't really believe in fate. I do believe in what will be, but I am more a follower of the idea of inevitability. Which is basically me just completely aping Yuko from Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles and Triple X Holic. Because in that series, although in the manga it's Hitsuzen, in the anime it's inevitability, so there's no such thing as coincidence in this world, only inevitability. And the way I perceive that is that the choices we make in life lead to inevitable outcomes. It's sort of similar to fate, but you have more control over it, essentially. So if you decide to go left or right down the road one day, that will lead to a different outcome. Obviously, you make a choice in that moment, and so the outcome is inevitable, but what that outcome is, no one's gonna know until it happens. Like, you know, a murder in the courthouse, which is all slightly terrifying. And clearly has a lot, well, clearly something must be going on related to this case if this murder in the courthouse turns up, because it was also 8 years ago. 8 months ago. God, that'd be terrifying if it was 8 bloody years ago. Now, I should point out that the way I've split these parts up is I've done it as best I can, because I don't want parts to be too long, because otherwise, in terms of me doing the commentary, it's just going to drive me nuts. So basically I've just put them all together. Well, I'll put the cases in chunks, so they will flow just straight through. Obviously we'll see points where I save. I've tried to end the part either at a save point or just before we go into a bit of witness testimony or a cross-examination. Largely because then it's black screen. It ends nice and neat. But obviously sometimes it's a little bit difficult. These parts are going to be quite long in the grand scheme of things, because really the game doesn't really let up, and the chunks of the game, so doing a trial or doing an investigation, they can last a long time. I mean, most of the investigations last about perhaps an hour, and most of the trial sections are either half an hour or an hour. So you kind of have to be a little bit loose with it all. It's what I did when I edited it all the last time that I played the Phoenix Wright games, but just feel point it out now and then you can understand for later. But Miss Dahlia Hawthorne's wrapped everyone round her little finger. Ugh. Yes, as I said, Dahlia is a fascinating character because obviously she looks all pretty and sweet and innocent. But yes, just do not trust her at all. So, her given name, Dahlia, was inspired by the album Dahlia by X-Japan. The nickname Dolly is a reference to an unofficial fan translation project for Trials and Tribulations, which was scrapped after an official localization was announced. In the fan translation, Dahlia was named Dolores Willow, and her nickname was Dolly. In terms of Hawthorne, it's a reference to the famous author Nathaniel Hawthorne, who wrote Rappaccini's Daughter. Something that I will explain perhaps a little bit more about later on in this case. And Pearl Fay, who is Mia and Maya's cousin, is also a Hawthorne reference. So, her Japanese name, I think, is Miyanagi Jinami, or something along those lines. Though she does have a pseudonym as well, which is Satoko Mokui, which literally means a vengeful foster child. But Miyanagi means beauty and willow, and is meant to evoke a feeling of tranquility, whereas Jinami may come from the phrase Chimo Namida mo Nai, without blood or tears. So basically heartless. So she's basically a heartless beauty. So that's all fun. And now I'm remembering bits and pieces about the way it all goes down with Dahlia, because she's an important character to this franchise. Well, not necessarily to the franchise, but to this game in particular. And it's fascinating. But yes, there's something very odd going on here. So, yes, there was a sharp, loud noise, but Dahlia doesn't seem to mention it at all. Which is it's just very, very curious. And no, if it's that loud, you ain't forgetting that. And also, to be fair, unless you've got like majorly impressive noise cancelling headphones, you're gonna be able to hear that stuff. Yeah, no, Doc. If a noise is that loud, no amount of headphones are gonna stop that at all. Like, you may be able to block it out somewhat, but like, no headphones are that amazing. I mean, like, even with the headphones that I've got at the minute, they're not noise cancelling or anything. I just don't think they are. And they do a reasonable amount of blocking out noise, as I've said. So, like, say my parents are calling me down or whatever because they shout my name. Sometimes I can't hear it at all because it's obviously not quite loud enough to pierce. But if you like building work that's happening next door, that is, even if I've got my headphones on, you can't block that out. You just kind of dim it a bit, and that's how that goes. So, already think she's lying through her teeth. But yes, Mia is right that theoretically, Doug could have been electrocuted. Obviously, Winston Payne could probably prove whether or not that was indeed the case, but well, that buggers up that idea. But you see, the snap, that might not have been the moment of murder. So, yes. So clearly, the murder weapon was the cable. Clearly. But the question is, what caused the cable to break? I mean, also, if it was raining and lightningy, then clearly he must have hit it, and yeah, that would have been it. So, smallest bump. I think you might have allowed us to open up this case once more, Winston. Because if we perhaps jump a little bit ahead of what the game's logic is, we know that if Nick's not lying, which I don't believe he is at this moment in time, he pushed Dog Swallow over and he landed on his brolly. If you look at the photo, the brolly is located relatively close to the pole. So it's likely that Nick pushed Doug into the pole and landed on his brolly, which would have caused the electric cable to snap, and yes, then obviously Nick left, and that is when the murder took place. And Mia is just going to explain this right now, just after I have already done it. So this is part of the problem with doing games that are essentially visual novels. Because as fun as they are to play, a little bit of a pain to commentate over. And you see, I keep doing this. I've not done it so much in recent years, because in terms of solo commentary, it's been a very, very long time since I've done a visual novel based commentary. But I have returned to the Professor Layton series the past 2 years on Hellfire Comms. And, oh, God. What are you talking about, Dahlia? Ugh. But, you see, the crocodile tears are coming out. This is where we are going to end you, Dahlia. Well, this is all kind of brand new. It's kind of come from nowhere. But also, actually, it doesn't make sense. And, you see, we are going to be able to finish this, I believe, or at least poke the hole in this quite quickly. Because, you see, it could not have all occurred in less than a minute. Because if you look at his watch, or even the information about when the blackout happened, it physically could not have taken place in less than a minute. Physically impossible. So, yes, he was murdered at 5 minutes past 3, but the power outage happened at 3. Or, well, 2:55, so kinda 10 minutes between the outage when Nick pushed him first and the murder. So, you didn't think that one through, did you, Duck? Just makes me smile, because it's just like, oh, we're on to you. Well, the murderer could be none other than, you see, as we will mention very shortly, there's only one other person involved in this case, so I think it's pretty clear. We are going to nail you, Miss Dahlia Hawthorne, because quite clearly, you are the murderer. Because obviously, if you her name, you've got a slight reference to the Black Dahlia, who was, well, she's an American woman who was the victim of a much publicised murder in 1947. So I would have been technically the victim in that case. Very horrific, unsolved murder, actually. But yes, so you've got that little reference. You've also got the whole Hawthorne thing going on. Although, once again, I can't quite go into it because it's going to spoil exactly what was going on with this case, but quite clearly, Dahlia, you are the murderer in this case, and oh my god, Nick. Just shut it right now. Sod off. We are going to make you innocent. It's clearly Dahlia. Because behind that fair facade, I'm afraid she's rather a cow. And, oh, thank God Mr. Grossberg is back. That's... Thank God for that. And, oh... We've got the police report that Grossberg just went to find, and it's exactly what we need. So yes, it details how Mia lost her boyfriend, which is something like a... Oh, what? Moment of Mia had a boyfriend? But it's going to help us nail this girl. And it's going to be glorious. Yes, yes we are. Well, you see, Dahlia, we've got everything we need right here. And we are going to end this. Yes, 8 months ago, something happened in the cafeteria. And then that very same day, Dahlia happened to meet Nick. How very bizarre. And with further testimony, we're going to bring this case to a close. Objection! And it's going to be oh so satisfying. So, bring it, Dahlia. We are going to show you what the hell your motive was. Bring it.